Well, Cricbuzz live, time for the second T20 International, and it follows an exciting match between the women's T20 teams. India going down off the very last delivery, and we don't want to read too much into that, but that's been the pattern. You could see the Indian men on the sidelines just cheering them on, saying that our result kind of depends on you, but we'll have to put that aside and look at it as a fresh game. Remember, one key word was said by Zaheer Khan in this very studio. He said, when you have a bad game, hit the erase button, forget about what happened then. And I think pretty much Rohit Sharma referred to that at the toss. Let's see if it still holds true. We've got him in the studio along with Harsha Bhogle. Zaheer, very important. India did it at Hamilton on the 4th ODI. Coming into ODI number 5, they need to do it again. Put that aside.
Well, the erase button is very important, but at the same time, the reset button is equally important, which they have to hit today. I think that's very important, that when you start the fresh game, yes, it's a fresh game, but you have to again go back to your basics, go back to your processes, and tick those boxes as we speak about all the time. So it's important that the first power play has to be very good. You know, bowling first, you have to set that tone of the match. So the first power play is going to be crucial. If see, when you have a game like that, like how we've seen the first match, you know, the first 6 overs, 66 runs, no loss. You know, if it's a similar kind of start, imagine how the New Zealand batters must be thinking. You know, okay, another day we can just put pressure on the Indians. You know, we will probably go beyond 200 runs, which will make it very difficult for this strong Indian batting lineup as well. But if you get that early breakthrough, suddenly the bowling unit will be back in the game, and that's something which is very important from someone from the Indian bowling lineup, whoever has got the new ball, Bhuvneshwar and Khalil. For Khalil, it's important that get the ball in line with the stumps. Don't give that room. Go in with a positive mindset of picking wickets. That's very important.
Harsha, I talked about the erase button. The one thing India didn't do is on the scorecard, put the backspace button and get a new player in. No. Unchanged lineup for both. New Zealand we expected, but India?
Yeah, and that's a show of confidence. As he said, the change they could have made was getting Kuldeep for Krunal, but they want to try out Krunal a little bit more. So, what other changes would they have made? Shubman Gill was a possibility, but I think they want to see more of Vijay Shankar. They want to see a little more of Dinesh Karthik. So, I'm okay with this. With this, I mean. On paper, this team looks as good as any other, doesn't it? On paper, it's all right. My eyes, again, like last time, would be on Rishabh Pant. Sometimes, and probably know better, in the early days of Sehwag playing white ball cricket, they said Sehwag tried to bat faster than Sehwag.
Yeah, that's true.
So I wonder if Rishabh tries too much in the white ball game. So I'd like to see how he plays.
But as Harsha mentioned, the only possible change could have been Krunal Pandya, and that's why Rohit Sharma himself referred to it at the toss, saying that yes, everyone's talking about Kuldeep, but they want to have not just have a look at him. I think the fact that he performed well and was really their standout bowler in a sense in that last game would have been a reason why they kept him.
I've always backed the thought process of backing your players. You know, that's very important. If you go back to the one-day series where Khalil started and then he was dropped the very next game, there are 2 ways you can go about it. Okay, if someone has not performed, you say that okay, fine, you're going to sit on the bench, or you say that okay, you had a bad day, we believe in you, and we're going to give you another chance. And that usually works because that faith which is shown by the team management. And the player gets that confidence boost and probably goes out there knowing that okay, the team management has faith in me. Now it's my turn to reciprocate, and that really helps in terms of confidence building rather than going doubting your abilities. Then you're always wondering that okay, this is the opportunity I have. So when next time you get that opportunity, you're actually thinking about being dropped rather than making use of that opportunity. So that's something which works mentally. So I think by going in unchanged in this match, Rohit Sharma also trying to communicate that message that yes, we had a bad day, but as a team we've had a bad day. We are far better than this. Let's go out there, put the day back, and today is a fresh start. We can if we play to our potential, there's no doubt we're going to win the match.
Reassuring players, I think, is a valid point. In every profession, Gautam, you and me and everybody, if someone's had a bad day and then your boss says, no, I'm backing you, then you start to feel better. I remember Ashwin telling me the story once. It might have been a super over that he might have bowled for CSK. what did he? You remember these things? But he said he had a really bad day. Couldn't sleep for a couple of nights, thinking, I let my side down. Went out on the field the next day, and Dhoni threw him the first over. And he said, "Oh, my captain still believes in me." And he said it just made me feel great about.
2010 against Kings 11 Punjab. That's
Was
not
it the
my
one?
knowledge. I was just told.
Yeah. I think it might have been the over that Blug Bollinger was supposed to bowl, and then Ashwin was given the over at the last minute, whatever. He said, I fluffed the super over, and then he gave me the first over next game, and I felt, wow, he still believes in me.
Is it also the kind of mindset you see on the field when someone maybe spills a very simple catch and he happens to be one of the bowlers, and you turn to him and say, okay, here's a chance, toss the ball to him immediately? It's a kind of...
Often we've seen that in cricket. Like, if you've dropped a catch or if you misfielded, it's very important, and that's what is important in a team game scenario as well. And you have support around. Imagine in an individual sport, you have to fight that battle on your own. But in a team sport, you have that support. So if someone has had a bad over or a misfield or a missed catch, it's other teammates' responsibility to just lift that player up. And often you've seen that these things have been discussed in the meetings as well. You talk about sticking together as a group, sticking together as a team, backing each other. Well, these are the things which we often speak about and hear in team meetings and preparations as well.
It's a great dynamic to have. I remember Leander Paes often says that when people ask him, why were you never that good a singles player? He said he was only charged up by that chest pump, by the dynamics of having people around him, even if it meant one other person. So it's that individual thing.
I guess each one is own. I mean, Leander was not built to play singles in the first place, but what he did in singles was incredible. I remember writing that.
The bronze in Atlanta, of course.
That was brilliant. Yeah.
Well, let's move away. That's pretty far away. Let's talk about the dimensions of the ground, because that is very interesting when it comes to Eden Park in Auckland. For those who haven't seen it, just get on maps, have a look at the aerial view of the ground, and you can see it's shaped like no ground in the world, which also means, we talked about it the other day.
Diamond-shaped ground, isn't it?
A diamond that's been cut pretty badly. Yeah. So it's a strange ground if you have a look at it there. Hence, you have this odd short boundary, and it means that you have scores, 174 the average score in the last 2 years in the domestic Super Smash, and we saw 12 months ago 244 was posted by New Zealand, brilliant 100 by Martin Guptill. Australia chased it down.
Yeah, I heard Dooley's pitch report as well, where he said very short straight boundaries because of the weird shape, and slightly better square boundaries, but then around that fine leg area it just sort of curves away. You remember that well. It just curves away, so difficult ground to defend. I don't know what's a good score here, actually, because if 244 can be chased, if 180 is chased down regularly, I wonder what a good score is if you're in the field.
But I think the boundaries and sixes changes the dynamics of this game, isn't it? Because of the short boundaries and certain areas. So as bowler, it's very important. I remember some of the top pitches also going for six, which as a bowler you curse yourself for the size of the ground and dimensions of the ground. But at times on ground like these, it's better to bowl back of the length. Yeah. Because straight boundaries are so short.
That's what he suggested the pitch report as well, bowl slightly back.
Yeah, so you got to figure that out, have your plans, sticking to your strengths. And it's very important that you don't get carried away with the other factors. Like I was saying, a good ball is a good ball. The distance between the wicket is going to stay the same. So you focus on backing your strengths.
I know it's a different day and a different game, but for a team like New Zealand, when you've had 244 chased down, which is pretty much close to the equivalent of Wanderers 2006, 400 plus being chased down, so it has to play on your mind.
So you're suggesting they might think 200, 220 is par.
They might go hard because of that,
and they bat fairly deep. If they get a start, as Zach said, if they get 60 of the first six, then they're well on course to getting 200. I must confess, I didn't see the women's game. I don't know if it was slow or whatever, but that was a 135 game.
135.
Yeah. Now look at this. We saw Kugelheim hitting big shots at the end, and we know Southie can. So we're looking at batting all the way down. It always comes down to wickets. You get wickets early on. Just comes down to wickets always.
And of course, we saw what Seifert's capable of. He's not going to do that every single day. He played in that 244 game, got a few, but not too many. That's the day they had Martin Guptill playing a Martin Guptill special. But
it doesn't come too often, though. You remember the Martin Guptill specials, but they don't come too often, do they?
Yeah, you kind of remember the double 100. You remember
sometimes if you remember individual performances, it means they're rare. You don't remember a Kohli 100 because it comes so often. So if you remember, they say about a champion that you're remembered by your failures. They say about ordinary players that you're remembered by your successes.
But Kohli is one person, no matter what you do. You don't forget him per se, whether it comes to scoring hundreds, not scoring hundreds,
or being on
team,
Instagram,
or not even being around. And we know he's always around, but he was, of course, in the focus when we talked about that interview with Ravi Shastri. Many questions were put to the Indian coach, but this is one of them that we picked out from here. Looking ahead at Kohli's possible position in the batting order, and this is what Ravi Shastri had to say. Maybe Raidu or someone else could bat at number 3. We briefly referred to it and saying Kohli comes in at number 4. You don't want to be 18 for 3 or 16 for 4 in a big tournament. Why should I lose my best batsman early in a World Cup match?
We talked about this some months ago when we had 3 openers in form. When you had Shikhar, Rohit and KL Rahul batting well. And we said if it comes to that if you don't have 5-6, then maybe Rahul can bat at 3 and Virat can bat at 4. You look at numbers for Virat at 3 and 4 that Deepu's thrown up for us, and you see that it is not a big change. The average will come down slightly. It is inevitable as you go down the order. The strike rate hasn't fallen by that much, so he can still bat at 4. But I'm not sure the reason for him to bat 4 is that you're afraid he'll get out. By being at 3, he might not get out and negate the conditions for all that you know. So I don't agree necessarily that batting him at 4 is because you don't trust him, you're afraid he'll get out. But if batting him at 4 is right for the balance of the side, then it's okay. But he's the world's best 3, isn't it?
They've tried him at number 4,
yeah.
And I'm completely with you on this. That Virat Kohli has to bat number 3. Yeah. You have to look at the situation in a positive manner. He can see off that phase as well. So by putting say Raidu in there, which is the possible option at the moment, you are actually saying that okay, if the conditions are tough, you have to go and fight it out there, and create that base for Virat to come in later. But I think if Virat gets set there, you imagine what kind of pressure he's going to put on the bowlers.
I mean, he's got just about seeing this year in difficult conditions.
Yeah, so it's just about seeing the scenario and situation in a different light. You got to be positive. You can't play cricket being afraid of losing your wicket. If that was the case, then the great Sachin Tendulkar should have been batting lower down the order. Okay, we have Sachin at the back. Sachin. It doesn't work like that. If you get out to a good ball, you get out to a good ball. But a good batsman is capable of dealing with any kind of situation. So
also, if you're dependent on one batsman, you've probably lost already. I mean, there's 4, 5, 6, right? Or there will be days when 1, 2, 3 won't give runs, but that's why you have 4, 5, 6.
It may not be, it may be a different format of the game, but that's what they used to say about a good number 3 in the Test match format. That you should be as good as an opener because you could be
you
not
can be
for 1.
0 for 1. Yeah, you can be in second ball. So I'd like to ask Virat Kohli what he thinks. Does Virat want to bat 4? I mean, when you're the best player in the side. Like Tendulkar was. If Tendulkar wants to open, then Tendulkar must open because the best player has to have the opportunity of winning you the most matches. So if Virat Kohli wants to bat 3, I mean, I'd like to hear someone tell Virat Kohli conditions are tough, niche batting karna. How will that appeal to him?
And knowing him as a personality, just seeing it from a distance, he's someone who likes to lead from the front. The very fact that he's got captaincy numbers that suggest how he performs even better as a leader.
See, also, if the requirement of the team is that, he will be more than happy to do it.
Correct.
But if you ask him just in an ideal scenario, and you look at the team combination also right now, you have the success, all the success in the last couple of years, which has come in white ball cricket, is because of that solid top 3. Why would you want to change that? That's a simple question which it doesn't matter what the conditions are. If this team has done well in all the conditions, against all the bowling attacks. You can't go in the World Cup thinking that okay, now it's World Cup and we need to protect our best batsman. It doesn't work like that. So I think it's important that the roles are clearly defined, and you got to have that faith. What we're talking about. So unless it's a requirement of the team that okay, we are losing wickets consistently at the top, and we need someone to consolidate and see off those middle overs, then yes. If the number 4 problem which we've been talking about has not been resolved and there is no one to take that spot, and you're asking Virat to bat at number 4, understandable. but not in a scenario where everything is falling into place and you're winning consistently.
That was one of the topics that we talked about, of course, a whole build-up, hashtag My World Cup squad, and that led to two topics pretty much. One was that number 4 slot as far as the batting was concerned, but in the bowling department we were also talking about filling slots, and hence the whole build-up to the World Cup and the topic about how much workload should these bowlers have in the build-up to May 2019, and this is what we asked Ravi Shastri as well, and he happened to have this opinion. During the IPL, we'll try and speak to the franchises, want to make sure they play an optimal number of matches without affecting their fitness and form. Seek proper rest for them as they're in absolute readiness for the World Cup, and that of course will apply more to the faster bowlers than to the slower bowlers. And Zaheer, you'd have an opinion on this one. 4 overs per game, it's a choice between match fitness and fatigue.
Look at case per case basis. You can't have a rule for everyone. Like Bhuvneshwar, for example. He needs more and more game time. We've seen that he's been on and off with his niggle injury, whatever it may be. He needs more and more bowling under pressure. That those kind of scenarios you cannot create in net practices. So in Bhuvneshwar's case, he has to play more matches. In Bumrah's case, he has been rested now. Yeah. So you have to strike that right balance, and it has to be looked at on individual basis, player to player, what kind of workload he has been taking right throughout the year, and what is required for him to be ready for the World Cup. In Virat's case also, right now he's been managing himself well. Yeah. He has picked his break windows very nicely, and so is Rohit. So I think it has to be looked at very individually, and the whole support system needs to work to take this call of exactly finding that right balance, so that you are in optimum performance zone, as they call it. Because too much rest is also bad. You got to be just about peaking well in the World Cup, and also at the crucial stage in the tournament. I feel that when you look at World Cup, it's such a long tournament. You've seen in the past as well, like '92 World Cup as well, that you need to peak as a team at the right time as well, because it's a long tournament. You've seen teams starting really well, but towards the end tapering down. So that's something which has to be cleverly managed by the whole support system around the team.
Yeah, there's two things about it. One is I think it's a good idea to be in touch with teams. So you're looking at Mumbai Indians saying, "Hey, Bumrah ka kaise chal raha hai?" So someone like Ravi or MSK calls Zach and says, "Kaise chal raha hai? Does he have any niggles or no?" But don't forget that even the people running the franchise, while they have loyalties to the franchise, they will not put themselves in a situation where they will say, "I will drag Bumrah into another game," knowing he could break down, knowing that the World Cup is around the corner. They're responsible people too. 7 Indian captains this year in the IPL. I think there's 7 Indian captains in the IPL this year. So you can make that adjustment as well. Also, if the IPL is played according to the schedule announced, then the IPL ends on the 13th of May. Right? 13th or 14th of May. 12th of May.
Yeah.
12th of May. And India's first game is 5th of June. So there's still time there's enough time to recover. India's first game is 5th of June.
Again, it's a parallel that we see from the world of football, because we know how football is so skewed towards the clubs around the world. But when there's a World Cup around the corner, you know that the national coaches and the team coaches are always in touch regularly.
But this year, all the Premiership coaches were really angry because they got all these tired players coming back from the World Cup and not playing enough. But I agree, it's 4 overs. So I'm sure there's very responsible people in the franchise who will know that our franchise is very, very important, but who also know that, look, there is, if Bhuvneshwar's got a shoulder niggle, Sunrise are not going to play Bhuvneshwar.
Yeah.
They are responsible enough.
Well, we talked about what happened a year ago, 244, New Zealand putting on the board, chased down by Australia. But we want to take you a little bit further back to a day when India also had a very narrow victory in 2002, and it was an exciting game at the end of not a great tour for India. Again, a build-up to the World Cup. And that one visual you're seeing, number 64, was the man who scored an all-important one not out.
Every time I see this photograph, I think Ashish Nehra will put this up as a giant picture in his house. He'll see, I batted.
See, the reason Ashish Nehra calls himself all-rounder is because of this match.
One not out.
And the pull which he played off the front foot, like Ricky Ponting used to play, and he would brag about it.
Exactly, one of the scariest shots I have seen.
Well, I can tell you, I have a couple of memories of the game. The first of them was being on the sidelines, because even though it was pre-T20 era, India had created a makeshift dugout, and I was like 3 feet away, and Ashish Nehra was sitting padded up and supremely confident that when Zaheer and you were batting with Srinath out there in the middle, that run out was something very typical of...
Yeah, that's actually a very interesting story behind that. Because the game was getting close, and we lost wickets in quick succession, you know. So suddenly there was a panic. Suddenly the game was we were winning comfortably, loss of few wickets, and suddenly the pressure was on.
6 for 16 to be exact.
Yeah, and Srinath ji, being Srinath ji, told me that you have to run. You know, even if the ball goes to keeper, you run. So I said, okay, fine, it's a deal. Srinath ji was on strike. The ball was down the leg side, it was wide. Because it was wide, he changed his mind. And I went to shake hands with him. I was like, Srinath ji, well done. There was an amazing plan. I got run out.
And when you were walking back, I know, confident as he is, did you say anything to Nehra ji? Did you give him any final words of advice? Or
Don't run.
No,
Don't run.
Like you're saying, that he was more confident. He's like, kuch nahi, I'll do it.
I know, that's what I heard.
Yeah.
Before he even got up, he saw the run out and he just told everybody, Ashish Nehra is there, never fear. As he always does.
It was the scariest shot I've seen. I mean, it's 6 for 16. So we're all sitting there like this. And you know, Ashish Nehra is a lovely guy, very reliable with ball in hand, bowling the death overs. Doesn't matter, you give it to him. If he's going out to bat, you're sitting on the edge of your seat. And then he call it a pull, call it what you will. He hit in front of mid-wicket, right? He slogged in front of mid-wicket, yeah.
But
I remember that game.
I know it's a mean one. Am I allowed to remind you what happened in the
No.
first innings of the game?
Don't.
It's one of those things. You know, you hit the erase button. Because we were chatting about it before the show, and I said, New Zealand at one stage were 161 for 9. And I again rushed down pitch side, ready for my post-match interview mid-innings. And we had to keep waiting because Sourav Ganguly bowled the 49th over, got hit for 18. And Zaheer Khan bowled the 50th over and went for 19. 37 of the last 2. New Zealand scraped to 200. Lou Vincent had a 50% strike rate. And Shane Bond hit 3 sixes, which is not something you see every day.
I've hit erase button too many times in my career.
But at the end of that, it was still a good spell, even though Srinath had 10 overs, Srinath ji, 10 overs for 13 runs, which was brilliant. And despite that 19 runs, you still went around 5 and over. So it was a good bowling performance overall from India.
I'm very bad with numbers.
Such a desperate comeback from Gautam Bhimani. You know what? You got slogged. Do you remember you got slogged? But actually you bowled well.
See, clearly that wasn't a great day for me. You know? Bowling the last over like that, getting run out in that fashion. So, you know, clearly I wasn't having a great day out there.
Also, it was also Rahul Dravid's birthday. And, you know him well. He's one who's very shy about celebrations. We had a cake. We went in while India were batting well. We got a cake for him. And I hid it behind my back, ready for my post-match interview with him. And he saw it. And he went, what's that? What's that? No, I'll do the interview, no cake. Send it to the dressing room. He refused to have it. We thought it would be a lovely gesture. Last question, happy birthday, Rahul. No, doesn't want it. Always been like that?
Always. I think with Rahul, he just goes very intensely about his business. That's what he's known for.
I should meet him more often. I should meet him more often. I decided to go off desserts, and I had one chocolate mousse thing yesterday.
Would you be okay with it?
See,
we handed a cake.
I'll tell you, he was one of the few who had actually done a lot of research. He used to get a lot of cramps as well, and he's actually gone.
A lot,
So he was someone who was who'd do all the research, who'd find out more things about how to improve himself physically as well. Just not the skill side of it. He had gone and got his sweat sample tested and understood that what is required for him to go off that cramping and how to hydrate himself. So that's something which now we talk about Virat Kohli doing it, But in those days, there were players who would take that effort of finding out information and bettering themselves.
I'm feeling horrible. I can't turn down the chocolate even today.
See how quickly I managed to hit the erase button and change the topic.
Because we sledged you.
All right, but now I'm coming right back to you.
Okay.
Because it's time.
You're sledging me?
No, we hit the erase button as far as
Okay.
goes, but we need to get the keyboard number lock on the
Okay.
keyboard.
Okay.
Prediction time. We
Prediction.
got it horribly wrong throughout the ODI series. First T20 international. We've seen.
Okay. Let me try and be horribly wrong for everybody's good and say 210. And then if I'm horribly wrong and they score 240, nothing you can do it. I'm horribly wrong, they make 160. It's good. No,
210?
I'll go 198.
That was good. Round about where I was heading.
I'm going 185. I think there will be a better plan in place, better execution from the Indian bowlers. Even though the momentum is with the New Zealand batters, so they'll put up a fight for sure. I think they'll put up a decent total. So I think it'll balance it out somewhere around 185.
Go 161. Come on. Go
No,
145.
not that low. Not
Come
that low. I'm going 169. I'm going 169. I somehow feel that we'll beat that jinx of the women and the men having that solidarity. So India will actually beat that jinx and also keep that record alive. Remember, India win this series. It's 11 T20 international series in a row, level with Pakistan, and that will be a record. But we've just got one little record to set straight here, and that is our joy factor question, because we are desperate, people out there, to get a new winner. Remember, the first one who gets
Have you got a winner already? Has someone given the answer already?
The IPL match between RCB and the Gujarat Lions is primarily remembered for the T20 record 229 partnership between De Villiers and Virat Kohli, which two other related IPL records were created in this match. Well, the first thing that comes to mind is a bowling record that's unwanted. I'm not sure if it is that, but I'm just throwing it out there.
Wasn't this the game when De Villiers already got 100 and he went to Kohli and said, are you actually going for the 100? And they had a laugh in between, and then Kohli got the 100? Or was it the other way around? I think one of them was...
No, it is this game.
Yeah.
And that's a very big hint, I think.
Okay.
Because it has to be beyond.
Sharat Shetty, you did not hear that. Wherever you are, you did not hear that, and everyone else did hear it. Get your answers in. Hashtag Cricbuzz Live.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know this. I never get these quiz questions right anyway, so I don't know.
That's okay. It's inadvertent when we want to give hints, but there's no hints as far as the match is concerned. It's live, and it's India who will be fielding first. Kane Williamson decided to bat, and the onus is on him and the Black Caps to put the runs on the board. Well, we've decided it's somewhere between 169 and 198. Somewhere between them. So, well, we feel under 200. 10th over, Cricbuzz Combox, and then, of course, we'll see you in the mid-innings.